Breaking news, Justin Baldoni just got a big win, meaning Blake Lively got a big loss.
The judge in Blake Lively's case just slapped down their psychopathic request.
And the court said no.
Are her lawyers dumb? Is this truly a win for Justin and a loss for Blake?
Absolutely a win for Justin, and you're absolutely right, Andy, in your interpretation of the document. What they said is basically, they told you to go, you have to go meet and confer and see if you can come up with more narrow requests.
There's a lot of this sort of like Blake complaining that they're evading the privacy, they're doing all this, but then meanwhile, right, she's on Saturday Night Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
In a dramatic twist that has sent shockwaves through Hollywood, beloved actress Blake Lively now finds herself at the heart of a legal firestorm. Allegations, dagger fierce rebuttals, and an unexpected ruling from the judge have placed her in the eye of a controversy that no one saw coming. This scandal not only threatens to stain her flawless public image, but could also send ripples across the entire entertainment industry.
Blake's case is falling apart. She's destroying her cred. Ryan Reynolds.
And speaking of her husband, the ever-charismatic Ryan Reynolds, he's caught up in this whirlwind too. But what exactly has landed Blake Lively in this situation? And how could this shocking verdict reshape the course of her career? Stick around as we unravel the gripping layers of this high-stakes legal battle, where each new revelation adds to the suspense and keeps us hooked till the very end.
I'm not asking anyone to not believe anyone. I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there, lay them out, put them on a website for the world to see, have them see the truth and determine the truth for themselves.
It appears that Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, was right when he advised all sides to put their cards on the table. According to reports, the court played a pirated audio recording while it was in session. It is said that Blake and her spouse, Ryan Reynolds, attempted to conceal the tape.
They didn't record the show.
The world awaits the court's revelation with great anticipation. The public's interest in this high-stakes drama is at an all-time high, and it appears like Justin Baldoni may be winning this case at this point. Blake Lively's legal team, led by Meryl Gavernsky, requested a protection order during the court hearing on March 4, 2025, to limit the public distribution of specific evidence, including private correspondence between Lively and prominent Hollywood individuals. They contended that making these messages public may injure people who aren't directly connected to the case needlessly and lead to unwarranted media speculation. But this request has spurred discussion over how to strike a balance between privacy and openness in well-known court cases. Additionally, it has made everyone discuss about Blake Lively's alleged bullying behavior.
I see a bully a bully attacking somebody. The bully being Blake Lively and our powerful lawyers. And thank goodness Justin's got support to be able to fight back this.
Speaking of Baldoni, Lively's lawyer's motion was rejected by the Hollywood star's legal team. Rather, his team argued that no special treatment should be given because of celebrity status and that the current protective order was adequate. In order to maintain fairness and avoid the matter being tried in secret, his legal team contended that transparency in the processes was essential. After all, Baldoni's principal lawyer has consistently demanded that everything be made public.
Justin Baldoni has built his brand and is known for supporting women, believing women. So why in this case should people not believe Blake Lively?
I'm not asking anyone to not believe anyone. I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there, lay them out, put them on a website for the world to see, have them see the truth and determine the truth for themselves.
At the same time, Judge Louis Lyman, who was overseeing the case, didn't hold back in tearing into Lively's legal team that day. If Blake Lively walked into that courtroom thinking she had all the ammunition needed to obliterate Baldoni, the judge's reaction must have completely blindsided her. And from what we've gathered, it absolutely did. Sources confirm that right there in front of the entire courtroom, both parties and curious spectators, where Blake Lively completely lost it. And let me tell you, it was a train wreck. I'm talking a full-blown emotional breakdown, right in the middle of the proceedings, while her own lawyers stood there, visibly cringing at the spectacle. That day, Blake Lively and her legal team strutted into court with an air of supreme confidence, as if they were carrying a game-changing secret weapon. Or perhaps I should say, They walked in looking like they were about to land the knockout punch that would seal their victory. Little did they know, Judge Lyman wasn't about to let that happen. With one sharp glance at their baseless demands, he hit them back with a ruling no one saw coming. The judge didn't just reject their plea, he outright ridiculed them, making it clear that their legal maneuvering was nothing short of absurd.
Lawyers are stupid. It's like he's like being nice here. He's like, your lawyers are really stupid. They will prepare for that a million different ways. They will tell journalists what they can and cannot ask. Her PR firm will only walk her up to certain friendly journalists.
Did Ryan Reynolds ditch Blake Lively at the premiere of Another Simple Favor to save his own career?
Hold on to your seats. This is huge. Chris Evans just pulled back the curtain on a shocking Marvel controversy. And guess who's at the center of it? None other than Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. That's right. Hollywood's beloved power couple is caught in the crosshairs of a jaw-dropping scandal that could shake up their squeaky clean reputation. The accusation? A mind-blowing Marvel scheme so bold, so outrageous, that it might just rewrite everything we thought we knew. And the person exposing it all? Captain America himself. Behind the dazzling smiles and glamorous red carpet moments, Blake Lively has been named the mastermind of a secretive plot lurking in the shadows of the MCU. But what exactly is going on, and how deep does this go?
Insiders are spilling on the real reason why Ryan Reynolds left Blake Lively alone on the red carpet amid the Anna Kendrick beef, and it's all about money.
Why did she take such a drastic step? Just to steal the Marvel spotlight for herself? Her rumored motive? An insatiable hunger for Marvel's fame and fortune? This shocking expose has everything. Hidden agreements, leaked conversations, ultimate betrayals, and this is only the beginning. Did America's darling truly shake up the MCU and pull Ryan into the chaos? Or is there an even bigger bombshell just waiting to drop?
Several other actors attended premieres at South by without their spouses or significant others. I mean, one, why are you responding?
These receipts are going to rock Hollywood to its foundations, so grab some popcorn. Believe me, this is not something you want to miss. Blake Lively reached what ought to have been a turning point in her professional life. In an attempt to quiet her detractors and remind everyone of her star power, she returned to the red carpet. Rather, it turned into one of the most embarrassing evenings of her life.
Blake attended with her cast and filmmakers and had a great time. Several other actors attended premieres at South by without their spouses or significant others.
She expected to be admired, for the cameras to love her as they always had, and for the business to accept her as though nothing had changed. But in reality, everything had changed. From the beginning, the energy was off. The enthusiasm had vanished, but the photographers continued to take their shots.
You're clearly unnerved. You didn't even need to respond. It's like, it's kind of, I wasn't that surprised that Ryan wasn't there. It wasn't his movie.
The smiles directed at her were forced, the conversations awkward, and the entire room felt heavy with an unspoken tension. So much so that even Blake, despite her extensive media training, couldn't pretend not to notice. Then, just outside the venue, a lone protester stood firm, holding up a sign that boldly demanded justice for Justin Baldoni. Blake hadn't told the truth.
It was weird that Ryan was there and it ends with us. If he shows up to every one of our movies that has nothing to do with, I think it would be worse reaction. I do.
This wasn't just an irritated fan or a random heckler in the crowd. This was a full-scale assault on her reputation, a blatant display of the simmering hostility that had been building up for months. Hollywood thrives on illusion, but no amount of charisma or perfectly timed smiles could overshadow the undeniable message plastered outside that premiere. For months, Blake had poured every ounce of effort into maintaining the illusion that the turmoil engulfing her was nothing more than whispers in the wind.
So I can't fault him for not showing up. The fact that he's responding is interesting. It shows they're paying attention and they're unnerved.
She had continued to act as though maintaining appearances would be sufficient to repair the harm, despite the legal turmoil, the PR nightmare, the consequences from her battle with Baldoni, and the reports of a broken relationship with Ryan Reynolds. She appeared certain that Hollywood would comply, that the industry would once more submit to her authority and let her control the story. But Hollywood had stopped paying attention. She was betrayed by the industry.
I stand by my report, and be prepared. Don't be mad at the messenger that I told you Anna Kendrick's not very nice either.
The media stopped fabricating stories to support her. The saddest part was that those she had previously referred to as friends, supporters, and co-workers were clearly stating that they no longer wanted to be affiliated with her. When her co-star and longstanding industry colleague Anna Kendrick was asked about her experience working with her again, it was the last straw.
Lively's done awful things to Justin and needs to pay the price in court. We'll find it out. But what I'm trying to warn you is apparently Anna's no angel either.
It was the type of softball inquiry that, even when the truth is far from pleasant, Hollywood actors automatically grin and respond with a prepared response. Kendrick, however, didn't even act. Just 4 words. 4 words that were more impactful than any tabloid expose or public crisis. There was no attempt at decency, no warmth.
I'm telling you, it's more than just a little, oh, she's annoying.
The utter lack of effort to preserve even the smallest semblance of friendship and the indifference to Kendrick's voice spoke volumes. When asked about Blake Lively, Anna Kendrick refused to answer. She didn't want to appear to be standing up for herself. For the sake of press tours and box office figures, she did not want to be coerced into yet another phony Hollywood friendship. Furthermore, Kendrick wasn't the only one who expressed her emotions.
Get your ego in check. All you actors, get your egos in check. And yeah, I'm going to call out actors who have way too big of an ego.
Henry Golding, one of Blake's co-stars, was asked about reuniting with the cast. His reply? Pure sarcasm. What could possibly go wrong? That smirk, that almost mocking tone, it spoke volumes. That little smirk, that not-so-subtle dig, said everything without saying much at all. Blake Lively wasn't just battling to keep up appearances. She was watching her carefully built reputation crumble right before her eyes. And worse, Hollywood itself seemed to have moved on from her.
My guess is she's not going to bring him because he's almost more disliked than she is, and that her promo game is just to pretend that she's really scared of the public now when she was the person who initially wanted all of this to be publicized because she was so confident in her power and her husband's power.
Relationships, alliances, and carefully constructed networks of mutual benefit are how Hollywood's most successful actors keep their influence. However, those alliances were breaking down, and Blake's reputation had turned poisonous. Once a fan of hers, the fashion industry was now avoiding her.
Blake Lively apparently fought for top billing in this film. And these are things that we don't even consider as the public, but even when you see a movie poster, that's a fight between people of who's going to be on the movie poster, who's going to be presented as the star of this film.
The high-end companies that had previously used her as the face of their advertising were discreetly severing their connections. Insinuating that she was a financial danger, Hollywood agents were warning studios not to cast her. Observing the tension surrounding her, producers decided not to get involved. Furthermore, it was impossible to overlook the fissures even at South by Southwest, where she had attempted to restore some semblance of normalcy.
And now that we know that Blake Lively is quite aggressive in general during these movie negotiations, it was revealed that she was similarly aggressive about The Simple Favor 2, and she wanted to be featured prominently.
No one was duped, even though she signed autographs, waved to fans, and flashed her trademark flawless smile. Blake Lively was no longer in charge. Being the cool, collected, unreachable leading lady was the foundation of her entire career, creating the appearance of easy grace. However, illusions are only effective when individuals are prepared to believe in them. Blake Lively had lost all credibility.
They will prepare for that in a million different ways. They will tell journalists what they can and cannot ask. Her PR firm will only walk her up to certain friendly journalists.
It was hardly the glorious moment she had longed for, the premiere of another small favor. The public affirmation that the industry was removing her was something else entirely. This was more than a brief setback. She couldn't resolve this small dispute with a well-timed interview or a well-thought-out public presence. Something was coming to an end.
So this apprehension is kind of, like I said, just trying to make people feel bad. And I think it's kind of perfect karma that now there's this apparent friction between her and Anna Kendrick, real friction with her co-star.
Blake Lively was once the shining star of Hollywood's elite, a trendsetter, a box office magnet, and a name that commanded respect in the industry. However, in Hollywood, the moment an actress is seen as a burden, the industry wastes no time in turning the page. And at this point, Blake Lively is exactly that, a risk Hollywood no longer wants to take. The tolerance for her has worn thin. Anna Kendrick's icy rejection wasn't just a personal snub. It sent a clear professional message.
She wanted Blake Lively to address her ongoing battle with Baldoni.
Hollywood had also come to the same conclusion. She was done with Blake Lively as a person, but she was also done with Blake as a brand. Blake may continue to make an effort to advance, attend gatherings, and keep up the appearance of control, But the truth is straightforward. She is no longer in charge, a resource, or someone that Hollywood wishes to keep safe.
There obviously now is this big elephant that's in the room that no one wants to acknowledge, and they're going to walk this red carpet and not acknowledge it unless, of course, Ryan Reynolds walks the red carpet with her.
Without a red carpet, a staged grin, or a well-planned public relations effort, the world will continue to see right through her. Blake Lively expected to make a victorious comeback and regain her position in Hollywood as she walked the red carpet, but the atmosphere was different. The zeal was lacking, the smiles around her were fake, and the energy was off. The once adoring business was now quietly observing her with disinterest, treating her as a person they no longer needed rather than as a star making a comeback.
So she's a serial fraudster. That's called fraud.
In real time, the facade she had fought so hard to keep was disintegrating. Something much colder than criticism, indifference, greeted her with each step and pose. When Hollywood as a whole decides someone is no longer relevant, it's the kind of apathy that marks an irrevocable change. Being the woman that everyone wanted to be around had been Blake Lively's career for years, but now she found herself in the center of a room full of people who were eager to get past her.
Ryan, have you been doing all these ads live during our podcast?
Yes, of course. Anything for Strikeforce 5.
A protester outside the ceremony held up a banner that dispelled any lingering uncertainty about the situation. Blake lied to get justice for Justin Baldoni. It was a direct and personal attack that destroyed any pretense that the public still saw her as untouchable, the kind of public humiliation that no Hollywood star ever expects to experience. This was more than just a movie-related fan outrage. It wasn't just one individual who was expressing this opinion on her character.
Why is she wrong? We could all see it with our own eyes, what was happening on that red carpet and inside the premiere.
It represented a far larger change. Blake had been feigning for months that the legal disputes and controversies that surrounded her were only short-term setbacks, and that she could overcome them using the same polished public relations strategies that she usually used. However, Hollywood does not forget and is not forgiving. The decision has already been taken by the industry. Once regarded as Blake's amiable co-star, Anna Kendrick made a scathingly contemptuous statement that quickly became the night's turning point.
There has always been this weird tension between Anna and Blake, always. There's interviews which they have done where it's just so uncomfortable.
When asked about working with Blake again, Anna Kendrick barely hid her indifference. Oh, you know. That was it. No enthusiasm, no warmth, no attempt to sound diplomatic. Just 4 words that carried the weight of quiet dismissal. Anna's response set the mood for the entire evening, and from that moment on, there was no undoing it. Hollywood has a ruthless way of deciding when someone has outlived their relevance, and now, Blake was the latest casualty. Her past allure, her carefully polished image, her knack for shaping media narratives. It all seemed to have lost its magic. There was no curiosity about her next move, no sympathy, just a slow, collective disengagement. She recognized this feeling all too well. She had watched it unfold before. Hollywood had discarded many actresses who were once at the top, only to wake up one day and find themselves sidelined. And now, it was happening to her. For years, she had meticulously controlled every detail of her career, her personal brand, and how the world perceived her. But what happens when the world stops paying attention? What happens when the industry deems you obsolete? For Blake Lively, the answer was unfolding right before her eyes, second by second. There was no scandal, no public takedown, just a slow fade into irrelevance. For Blake, this realization was more devastating than any tabloid controversy. A scandal could be fought, a fall from grace could be repaired. A celebrity could issue statements, stage a comeback, rally supporters, but being forgotten, that was permanent. Hollywood wasn't branding her as a cautionary tale or making her the center of a media storm. It was doing something far worse. It was acting as if she had never really mattered at all. And that was evident tonight. The distance from her co-stars was strategic. The press was uninterested, and the fans who once screamed her name weren't as eager anymore. Even the photographers who once scrambled to capture her from every angle were simply going through the motions. They still snapped their shots, but they weren't selling like they used to. No one was searching for the latest Blake Lively moment anymore, and she could feel it slipping away. It wasn't an abrupt downfall, no dramatic spectacle, just a slow, agonizing fade. The worst part? When she left the event, the industry wouldn't be talking about her the next day. The headlines wouldn't be buzzing about her outfit, her performance, or her presence at the premiere. Instead, they'd focus on Anna Kendrick's cutting indifference, Henry Golding's smirk, the quiet but undeniable shift in Hollywood's attention. For years, Blake had maintained a firm grip on her public image. She had mastered the art of appearing effortlessly elegant, the actress who didn't seek attention but commanded it anyway. But now reality was settling in. Hollywood had moved on, and without Hollywood, what was left? Her entire career had been built on being the industry's golden girl, a title she had carefully upheld for over a decade. She wasn't known for daring, transformative roles or an impressive acting range. Her career thrived on something far more fragile, her image. And now, that image was fading. Blake had always believed she was too careful, too calculated to ever end up here. But the truth was, no one is untouchable. Hollywood only keeps people around as long as they serve a purpose. And right now, Blake wasn't offering anything the industry couldn't get from someone younger, fresher, and less controversial. The endorsements were already slipping. Luxury brands that once fought to have her as the face of their campaigns no longer saw her as an asset. Fashion is obsessed with the new, and Blake Lively was no longer the new. The silence from the industry wasn't just professional, it was personal. The people who once sought her presence were stepping away, not out of malice, but because Hollywood thrives on power, and Blake's power was fading. She felt it in the way the press covered her that night. The glowing write-ups about her effortless charm had vanished. There were no fawning headlines about her red carpet presence, no breathless admiration. Instead, articles focused on who wasn't reacting to her, on the body language of those forced to stand beside her, on the quiet but significant shift in status. Blake Lively was facing something she had never prepared for: irrelevance. For years, she assumed she had built something unshakable, that her place in Hollywood was permanent. But now, standing in the aftermath of what should have been a victorious moment, she saw the truth. No one in Hollywood is irreplaceable, and now, she was the one being replaced. She had watched it happen to others, actresses who were once Hollywood's darlings, adored by fans, showered with opportunities, slowly pushed aside when the industry found someone newer, fresher, easier. She had convinced herself she was different, that her media-savvy nature would protect her. But Hollywood doesn't play favorites. It rewards usefulness and discards what no longer serves it. The most painful part? She could feel it happening in real time. It wasn't a sudden collapse. It was a slow, insidious erosion. Once close allies keeping their distance, opportunities becoming scarce, fewer calls, fewer open doors. She wasn't being ostracized, just overlooked. The premiere had been a test, a way to gauge whether she still had the influence she once commanded. And the answer was clear. She didn't. She had miscalculated. For months, she had convinced herself that she could outmaneuver the growing whispers. Her feud with Justin Baldoni, the speculation about her marriage, the sense that her name carried more baggage than prestige. She thought she could rise above it, reclaim control of the narrative, but the industry had already decided. And once Hollywood makes up its mind, there's no going back. She saw it in their eyes, in their voices. Conversations that used to be warm were now polite but distant. Interactions felt forced and obligatory. Gone were the excited whispers when she entered a room, the photographers rushing to get the perfect shot. The warmth she once commanded had turned to something much colder: indifference. It was the same indifference that had ended the careers of so many before her. Not scandal, not disgrace, just quiet, disinterested apathy. The brands had moved on, the directors had moved on, the audience had moved on. And now, Blake Lively had to ask herself a question she never thought she'd face. What happens when the world stops looking? For years, she had expertly controlled the narrative, spun the media in her favor, shaped her own image. But this wasn't about PR strategies anymore. This wasn't about posting the right picture at the right time. This was about something much bigger: relevance. And once Hollywood decides you're no longer relevant, no press tour, no viral moment, no designer gown can change that. For the first time in her career, Blake Lively was confronting an unthinkable truth. She wasn't crashing down in a blaze of scandal. She was fading, slipping into the one fate worse than controversy: being forgotten. And in Hollywood, there's nothing more damning than that.